The text arrived at 11:47 on a Saturday morning, and the entire golf world stopped cold. Rory McIlroy, the defending Masters champion, the man who had finally completed the career Grand Slam that had eluded him for over a decade, was withdrawing from the Arnold Palmer Invitational. A back spasm, a small twinge during a routine gym session, a few swings on the range, and then silence. For the first time since 2013, Rory McIlroy was leaving a golf course without finishing a tournament. The Masters was 4 weeks away. The Players' Championship was 5 days away. And the man who was supposed to be building toward the peak of his season was suddenly the biggest question mark in the sport. Now, with just days remaining before he walks the fairways of Augusta National again, the golf world is asking the same question out loud. Is Rory McIlroy actually ready to defend his title? March 7th of 2026 started like any other tournament Saturday at Bay Hill. McIlroy had posted rounds of 72 and 68, sitting at 4 under par and tied for ninth, 9 shots behind 36-hole leader Daniel Berger. He was preparing for his third round with the kind of quiet, locked-in focus that has defined his career at its best. Then, during a routine gym warm-up, something went wrong. He overextended slightly on a hinge movement, and what began as a minor twinge became something far more serious once he got to the range. About 30 minutes before his scheduled tee time, he made the call that stunned the sport. He was withdrawing from the tournament. He described the sequence plainly in his statement, explaining that the small twinge he felt in the gym worsened into full muscle spasms in his lower back once he started hitting balls, and that he simply could not continue. For a player who had built his entire reputation on durability and consistency, the withdrawal hit like a gut punch. It was only the second time in his entire PGA Tour career that McIlroy had been forced to pull out of an event. The first was back in 2013 at the Honda Classic, when he walked off citing a toothache, though he later admitted his mind was not in the right place that week. As he got into his car and drove away from Bay Hill, a reporter asked if he was all right. He gave a thumbs up and said 3 words that offered just a sliver of reassurance. He said he was all good. The golf world was not so sure. 2 days later, a text message arrived that raised the alarm all over again. On Monday, March 9th, Golf Channel's Todd Lewis received a message from McIlroy that sent another chill through the sport. The message was brief, but one word in it landed like a hammer. McIlroy wrote that his back was being more stubborn than expected, that he was staying home to continue treatment in South Florida, and that he hoped to travel to Ponte Vedra by Wednesday. That single word changed the entire conversation. Stubborn. This was not a minor tweak that clears up overnight. This was something requiring continued treatment, delayed travel, and a timeline that nobody could confidently predict. The defending Players' champion, the man who had completed the career Grand Slam just 11 months earlier, was now a genuine doubt for the biggest regular season event in golf. Former Ryder Cup captain Paul McGinley offered measured perspective on what it all meant. He acknowledged that McIlroy is the kind of player who could show up unprepared and still compete at a high level, calling him a unique character who could roll up on a Thursday morning and play well regardless. But McGinley also struck a cautious tone, noting that if there was any hint of the spasms still lingering, he would not be surprised to see McIlroy withdraw from the Players as well, because the Masters was clearly the priority above everything else on the schedule. McIlroy had dealt with back problems before. At the 2023 Tour Championship, his lower back spasmed so severely in the days before the event that he could barely take his address position over the ball. He played through it anyway and finished 4th. That same year, he went on to contribute 4 points for Europe in their Ryder Cup win in Rome. He had proven he could fight through physical adversity and come out the other side. But this felt different. The word stubborn implied that his body was not following the expected recovery script. And with Augusta just weeks away, every day without a clear update felt like a lifetime. Thursday, March 12th arrived at TPC Sawgrass, carrying the kind of tension that only golf produces. McIlroy had done everything possible to get himself healthy. Daily treatment sessions, rest, a carefully managed practice routine. But none of that could be verified until he stood on the first tee and actually swung a driver with full commitment. His tee time loomed like a verdict. He went through his morning routine, assessed how his body felt, and made the call the golf world had been waiting 5 days to hear. He was playing. He said afterward that he felt completely ready when he returned to the course that Thursday. And when he stepped up on the first tee and launched a drive 300 yards down the fairway, the crowd erupted in a way that went well beyond a normal opening tee shot. The back had held. The spasms were gone. Rory McIlroy was back on a golf course. But being healthy enough to play and being sharp enough to genuinely compete are two completely different things, and the first round made that distinction painfully clear. McIlroy finished at 2 over 74, 7 shots off the pace, and the scorecard told the story of a player fighting against his own rust as much as the golf course itself. 3 bogeys, just 1 birdie, and a lingering sense that the timing and the feel were simply not where they needed to be. He described the feeling afterward as unbelievably rusty, which was striking given that he had only missed a few days of competitive golf. The rust showed up most noticeably in his short game, particularly on downhill lies that required him to bend further through impact, exactly the kind of movement that puts the most strain on a back that is still in recovery. He ranked 3rd in the entire field for strokes gained off the tee, but surrendered more than 5 strokes on the greens over the course of the week. By the final round, he had finished at even par, tied for 46th, 13 shots behind winner Cameron Young. He made the cut, barely, and got through 4 rounds without re-injuring himself, and he chose to frame that as a positive. He said he was glad to get through 4 days with his body feeling good, and that he felt his game was gradually improving even if the scores did not fully show it. With the Players' Championship in the books, the next question became obvious. What would his preparation look like heading into Augusta? His original plan had been to rest at home, practice, and arrive at the Masters fresh and ready for his title defense. But after a rusty week at Sawgrass, he started reconsidering whether he needed more competitive reps. He said he would monitor how his body felt at home and acknowledge that if he got restless, he might add an event. He also noted that missing the cut at Sawgrass would have essentially forced him to play an additional tournament to get sharp. By making the weekend, he preserved the option to rest. By March 17th, the decision was made. Following a TGL playoff loss, McIlroy confirmed that the Masters would be his next competitive event. No Houston Open, no Valero Texas Open, just practice at home, a controlled build-up, and then Augusta. He also gave an encouraging update on his physical condition, saying he was no longer taking any painkillers, that his back felt fine, and that it had not been a factor during the TGL matches. But Paul McGinley, speaking to Sky Sports News, raised concerns that went well beyond the injury itself. He pointed directly to the weight of obligations that come with being the defending Masters champion. The Champions Dinner on Tuesday evening, the Augusta National Women's Amateur, the Drive, Chip, and Putt National Finals the day before the tournament begins. All of it demands time and energy and mental bandwidth that would otherwise go toward preparation. McGinley noted plainly that defending the Masters is always difficult precisely because of how consuming those responsibilities are, and that the disruption in Florida had already cost McIlroy meaningful tournament preparation over 2 consecutive weeks. He described the situation as a bit worrying given how far McIlroy's statistics had fallen from his usual standards during the Players. So here is where things stand. The 2026 Masters begins April 9th. Rory McIlroy will be there, walking the fairways of Augusta National as the defending champion, wearing the green jacket he spent 14 years chasing. He will host the Champions Dinner on Tuesday night, a tradition every past champion treasures and that every defending champion finds genuinely exhausting. He will step onto a golf course he knows as well as anyone in the field, the course where he finally wrote the ending to the career Grand Slam story. But he will arrive carrying more uncertainty than anyone expected just a month ago. His back is fine, but fine is not the same as completely right. His game is trending in the right direction, but trending is not the same as sharp. And his preparation has been interrupted in ways that were impossible to anticipate. McGinley summarized the whole situation with the kind of directness he is known for, suggesting that McIlroy's form and his physical issues over the past few weeks point toward a player who might be just slightly off his best heading into Augusta. But McGinley also made sure to leave the door open, reminding people that Augusta suits McIlroy's eye beautifully, that he is returning to a place filled with the strongest memories of his career, and that a player of his charisma and talent is never someone you simply write off. The defending champion has one more hurdle to clear before the tournament begins, and every single person who loves this sport will be watching to see whether he clears it.